VITURE Pro Neckband and the INAIR Pod are two of the best puck style devices you can use with your display glasses today. Now, there's one set of glasses that is king of these pucks, and that's going to be the VITURE Luma Ultra. So today's video, we're going to be going through and comparing these two puck style devices and seeing what their strengths, weaknesses are, and which one might be better for you to buy. If you want some more information on these, maybe you're torn between the two, there are some sales going on now for both of them, so definitely check them out. I'll drop some links in the comment section in the description, but let's just jump into it. My name is Connor, and this is where the informal tech reviews live. Okay, so right away, starting off with the VITURE Luma Ultra on the Pro Neckband, you can see that the display is really good. It does have that 6 degrees of freedom setup, so as I get closer to it, it does appear to stay in place, and if I move around, obviously it's going to stay there as well. But what's awesome about it is it does have hand gestures. Now, I will say the hand gestures are not perfect. If you have a darker complexion like I do, I think maybe it's a little less accurate unless you're in really good lighting. So like right now, I was prepared to come in here and really hype it up because I've seen a lot of negativity on the internet about the hand gestures, but while recording this, I think it might be extra CPU usage with recording. I have felt it be a little less accurate than I have previously. And so like even right there, yeah, I don't know. I haven't experienced that a lot when I'm just using the device, so that's something to keep in mind for sure. There's also some really cool shortcuts when you're doing hand gestures, so I can make this very large or very small. And I like when it's in 6 degrees of freedom mode to keep it super big. You do lose a little bit of the edges around the display just because the field of view on these glasses themselves is not like the highest field of view. But overall, I would say the navigation experience usually is pretty good, but it has some big benefits where I can use my actual phone device to be able to control it. So there is an application on the phone called Neckband Remote, and once you go into it, it's going to connect to the device. So I can use it as an air mouse similar to the INAIR Pod, and I'm able to make significantly smaller gestures with this to be able to move around, so I'm not like way out here like I would be with my hand. Now the laser mode, it does drift a little bit right now, and that might be, like I mentioned, because I'm also recording at the same time. It's awesome because you can just click into applications by hovering and then tapping. There we go, by hovering and tapping. So if you tap and swipe, you're able to scroll. And then if we head into VITURE device settings, we can see that I can control the different types of input. So if I want hand input, I can have it as adaptive, left hand, right hand, both hands. I think I'm actually going to set that as right hand because I never really do it with my left hand. One other mention that I'll give about the controller is it also is semi-gaze controlled. So as I turn my head, the cursor is moving as well. So I can move like this or a combination of both to really get to where I want to go. Now let's take a look at the refresh rate. The refresh rate on here is 90 or 60 Hertz. Now I don't know if that's different depending on your glasses. I'd have to pop my beast in really quick and check. But today we're going to be focusing on the Luma Ultra on both the devices. There's also some fan control options in here, so you can get power boost, balance, or quiet. I don't know if you can actually hear my fan right now. You might be able to because the microphone's right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to power boost. Got just a little bit louder. But balance is where I usually keep it unless I feel it slowing down. But since I'm recording, maybe I'll leave it on power boost so I can have it a little bit smoother. There's also some other settings in here, but we'll talk about more of the specs and information like that when we get back. What I do like about the phone controller is there's actually a back button. So if you're in the application and you hit back, you can actually go back. And there's a home button as well. So that's something that's really missing on the INAIR Pod is like actual buttons to be able to manipulate things. But we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to it. As far as some other items like multi-window, you can see that right now. Oh, and let me make my screen a little bit. Oh my gosh, it just flew away. That's something that I've ran into quite a bit on the device is when I'm using like multi-window multitasking, sometimes it'll just fly away. So let me go ahead and get my screen recording going again. Now you can see that we have our multi-window view set up. I have YouTube over here. It's probably still showing right here for you, but I can see my video over here and I have my application drawer right here. But if I wanted to pop up something else like YouTube Music, It's going to have YouTube over here, YouTube Music right here. I can move them, so if I wanted to swap these two, I can do that. But what is kind of unfortunate is this is always going to be the app drawer. The third one is always going to be the app drawer. So even if I pop up like Play Store right here, Play Store just moves right into the center, and these two are still over here. So I can try moving apps into the middle and switch over to put YouTube Music back in the middle. And you can see now the app drawer is over here, Play Store is over here, and YouTube Music is right in the middle. So really it feels like there's two screen multitasking and then also your home navigation area over here. That's unfortunate, and it does definitely lose to the other device that we'll talk about here in just a second when it comes to that. But there is one big win on the Pro Neckband that I have. I actually have a big issue with being able to work remotely and experience that 6 degrees of freedom with my work laptop. And I've mentioned it a few times, so you may already know, but the big issue that I have is when I'm using my work laptop, I'm not able to download any extra software, so I can't put Spacewalker on my work Mac or my work Windows machine, and so I'm not able to experience any of the awesomeness from the sensors on those devices. I picked up this from Amazon. I don't remember the name of it. It says YCE on it. What it is it's a USB-C to USB video capture card, and what's awesome about it is it can take the DisplayPort alt signal from your device, like my work laptop, and convert it into usable camera type footage, camera type input for any device to be able to use. And so I'm using the same device on both of the, or same application on both of these devices to be able to do it. And I will show my solution for the INAIR Pod as well, but the INAIR Pod solution is a little bit less graceful, I would say. That's probably a good way to describe it. You can see I use this Noir Lite application, and all I have to do is plug into a DisplayPort alt capable device, and then I can actually plug into the USB port on the Pro Neckband. I really like that. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm the only person who can't download software onto my devices, but what that really does is it enables me to, and you can see I have the little pop-up permissions window right there. It enables me to be able to pop up the display right in my view. So this is the actual trackpad area that I'm using, and it's weird because the trackpad's controlling the neckband and the neckband's seeing the trackpad, and so it's almost like, I don't know, Inception. Unfortunately, you can't like touch through here, so I couldn't like use the controller to tap on the screen to do something. But what's awesome about it is now I have 6 degrees of freedom for like my laptop, and so if I have something like this, which I picked up at a yard sale for like $3, it's the ProtoArc folding keyboard and mouse, I'm able to bust this out, close the laptop down, connect this to it. It doesn't feel like much more than just having the USB-C connection straight to the glasses, but it's going to the neckband instead. And now I have 6 degrees of freedom for that one screen. That's a big disadvantage compared to like using actual Spacewalker or something. You're limited to the one screen, but it's pretty awesome because if I have the one screen, now I can use the neckband to be able to use other application, well, one other application off to the side. And so I can put my YouTube on that's not running on my work computer, have that going, and then use my work computer here. And so it's almost the ultimate coffee shop setup. Now, the double screen multitasking, as we're putting it on the Neckband Pro, is a big limitation to it, but this works really well. And I can say that the latency is honestly really good. So let's see. Okay, so if I'm on YouTube and you're watching it scroll, see, and I'm not even like adjusting that timing. It just is really close. So I definitely would use this for work. I don't think I'd use it for gaming. I mean, maybe you could probably get away with it as long as you're not doing something super competitive. If you wanted to slap this into a PS5 or something, you could probably do that as well. 6 degrees of freedom PS5 using the Pro Neckband. But you could also just do some remote gaming connecting to your device, so that doesn't really have the same limitations to it. But I think that's the big bonus of the Neckband Pro. Now, these devices both have Android systems with the Google Play Store, so you can see that exists in there. You can use Moonlight game streaming on both of them. I've talked about those things in the individual dedicated reviews, so definitely check out those videos if you haven't already. But I think that's it for the Pro Neckband. I do like the use case of having it on your neck instead of in your pocket, and having this extra USB port is really awesome because the actual like video out cable is back here, and then the USB port's here, so you can actually connect a USB keyboard or whatever you need into here. Now, we are going to enable some awesomeness on the INAIR Pod too, so if you're on the INAIR Pod crew, if you're an INAIR Pod night, definitely stick around. Let's move into that. All right, it's time to move over to the INAIR Pod, and I did want to mention that you have to use use the special cable that came with the Luma Ultra because the way that they connect. So that's one note for the Pro Neckband is it has that cable kind of built onto it already. So you just go from it to this. But the downside there is if you connect any other device, you have to use a special dongle to be able to do that. So something to keep in mind. You slap it on there, you connect to the INAIR Pod. What it'll do, because I didn't have the Luma Ultra when I did the INAIR Pod review, is when you're very first using it, it'll bring you in and you'll have to calibrate it for the Luma Ultra, but it does have 6 degrees of freedom and multi-view. So you can see the screen here, and of course it has the 6 degrees of freedom, so if I get closer, it does get bigger, and if I move away, it does stay, get smaller. But the layout is a little bit different. And so whereas before on the Luma Ultras, you just had the big old icons right in there, super easy to click on. They give you a few different like widget type things in here. And so they have inner space for your remote control of your computer, the My Phone, as well as some other applications that they think you should use. But if you swipe over using the little touchscreen here, you can just swipe through the windows and see, your different applications. And so we'll go through sort of the same thing as we did on the other one. Right away, you'll be able to tell that the multi-window multitasking on this device is way better than on the other one. And so let's go ahead and pop open YouTube, Google Play, whatever this thing is. What else? Wait, that's not YouTube. So where did YouTube go? Oh, did they close? Okay, well, I mean, it's obviously not perfect either because those two applications did close, and that might be a memory management thing. But let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll go ahead and move this one up. And so now I have that image up here and then the other 3 down here. And so if I wanted to pop open something else too, like the book one, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images, and then we can do the moment of truth to see if we can get a 6th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 full applications able to be used and seen all at once. But it does feel super smooth for me, very crisp and bright, just like the Pro Neckband. I would say they have very similar video quality. And if we jump into settings in here, we can come and see some of the display settings that we have. So you can turn on AR space if you want, which is just like the little stars that kind of float around if that's something you're into. And you have your field of view boundary, which will kind of limit your field of view. And I think that's an effort to make motion sickness a little bit less intense. And then under general for display things, you can use your different display modes. And so for the Luma Ultras, you have 6 degrees of freedom, 3D multi-window mode, 3 degrees of freedom, all that same stuff, or 0 degrees of freedom. And so I think the 3 degrees of freedom is a new addition with the most recent update, but I don't even use it because 6 degrees of freedom is where it's at. Appreciate INAIR for always putting out the updates on that though. Now, when you're connected to the INAIR Pod, a lot of the menus on some devices don't work anymore. So like if you're on like a Ray Neo or the Beast, you're not able to actually see most of the menus that you would normally be able to access. And I don't know why that is. INAIR, if you're watching, that might be something to enable and let us have access to, because that is a weird quirk about connecting to the pod. You have to set up all your settings in the pod OS, and you can't just control the settings unless they're mapped to a button. So like you'd still be able to turn your volume up and down. You do have a lock on this device, so if you wanted to lock it up using your fingerprint sensor, which I did use, you can actually scan your fingerprint on here, and this touchscreen works as the trackpad to be able to move around, or not the trackpad, the scroll wheel and the clicker to be able to move around on your applications and scroll and click. And then of course it's the air mouse functionality, which you don't have to make super big gestures for, which I do like. I do wish INAIR, if you're watching once again, you could enable this to be able to be a trackpad as well, similar to how we just had with the controller on the other one, maybe a button combination to be able to switch the touchscreen to a trackpad would be great. Now, one thing I didn't touch on the Pro Neckband is they both do support Bluetooth controllers. And so if I wanted to connect something else to this to control it, I can do that like a mouse or any other type of Bluetooth controller. Definitely check out the channel. We have a couple videos on different types of those. And I'm really excited about, I believe it was called the Highwear control ring. That thing looks amazing. Highwear, if you're watching this, reach out. We should definitely collab. But yeah, I think this is a good synopsis of the INAIR Pod's use compared to the Pro Neckband. They both do have their quirks, although with the INAIR Pod, I haven't had it like freak out, throw the windows around, crack down on me. So that's something that I have experienced more on the Pro Neckband. Now, on the topic of my little capture card for my computer, I did figure out a way to get it working on the INAIR Pod, but welcome to dongle hell. So you have to disconnect your glasses, connect your dongle in, and I did have to get a special dongle that supports DisplayPort Alt through, so definitely check the links in the comment section and description if this is something you're interested in. You got to pick the right one. This one is the DisplayPort. It says DisplayPort 4K 60 Hertz, so I can go ahead and connect that right away. My glass is tinted, so I know that it's working. But the big issue here is using this method, INAIR can no longer detect that I'm using the Luma Ultra. The DisplayPort signal is first going to the dongle before it comes to me, so I am able to still connect it and use it, right? So I can connect this to the dongle, and I'll be able to have that pop-up come up and use it. Screen recording on. And you can see I got the open noir light to handle USB 3 video, but it's not actually taking up the whole image. And if you just saw that, the screen actually sometimes flickers. Now, obviously, they're not meant to do this, right? It's not meant to be used this way. So I can't fault INAIR for this. So I'm at max fan speed, and it does still occasionally do that thing. But if I look into display mode, because I'm not connected directly to the Luma Ultras, it can't tell that I'm on it. And so I have these options: 3D 1080p, 2D 1080p, 2K or 2D 4K and 3D 4K, but obviously the 4Ks are not going to work on this pair of glasses because of the resolution. It does enable multi-screen multitasking with my computer screen if I'm okay with the flickers. I don't know if you're seeing that on the screen recording, but the flickers are happening. I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen recording. And so, unfortunately, I haven't found an awesome solution yet with the INAIR Pod to be able to have 6 degrees of freedom with a computer or a screen to be able to just remote into it. Granted, if you can just remote into it, you know, INAIR Space, Chrome Remote Desktop, whatever you're using, Moonlight, those all work on it too. And so that's a perfectly acceptable way. And if I'm using my personal computer, that is what I do. For my work laptop, it's just not usable. All right, so right here we have the infographic that me and ChatGPT made to compare the two devices. I did go through it and make sure it's as accurate as I could get it. If there are some discrepancies in here, I do apologize for that, but let's take a look at how they stack up against each other, the INAIR Pod versus the Pro Neckband. Okay, so I'm going to keep myself pretty small because there's a lot of text in here that you need to be able to read, but if you look at the very top, you can see that the battery capacity between the INAIR Pod and the Pro Neckband, the INAIR Pod is winning hands down. I don't know that I would say that that translates to a lot more time realistically. I guess for my use cases, I usually push it pretty hard, and I think using it for the Luma Ultras with 6 degrees of freedom does push it even harder. But both of them are going to have, let's just call it, not great battery life. So you're going to be wanting to plug them in pretty often. But I will say the INAIR Pod does feel like it lasts longer. The trade-off there is it doesn't have the extra port on it, so you can't really charge it up and use it at the same time unless you have a dongle. And like we talked about, once you get into the dongle life, you start losing features. Unless there's some really good dongles out there where they pass through the name of the device being connected to them instead of their own name. If anybody knows of those, definitely let me know in the comment section because I'm looking for it. Down in the memory, the INAIR Pod has 8 gigabytes and the Pro Neckband has 12 gigabytes. Now it does say 8 or 12 and it says that on the VITURE website, but when I was looking, I couldn't find the 8 gigabyte version to purchase. So I think they only are selling the 12 gigabyte version at this point. And I just realized I had the wrong image up. That was not my most recent one. I added the prices at the top. And so you can see that right now it's on sale. The INAIR Pod is on sale for $374 with code INAIR Summer Sale. And definitely use the links in the description if you want to help out the channel. And the VITURE Pro Neckband is on sale for $312 if you use code INFORMALTECH to get 10% off. So they're getting pretty close in price. The pod has come down quite a bit. I believe it was $500 at one point, but let's keep it rolling. Storage, the INAIR Pod maxes out at 128, where the Pro Neckband, as far as I know, only currently sells a 256 gigabyte version. So you got to give the wins to the Pro Neckband for memory and storage, whereas the INAIR Pod definitely won for battery capacity. That's kind of where the big differences end. You move into Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, they appear to be the same. I couldn't find good documentation on the Wi-Fi for the INAIR Pod, but when I checked on my router what it was connected to the INAIR Pod as based off of the IP address, it said it was on the 6 gigahertz channel, so Wi-Fi 6E it is. The I/O ports is another big one where the Pro Neckband wins, and that's because of that USB port that you can connect other devices into. You may not use that as much, but that's definitely a big one for me, and pretty much the only reason that I really lean towards the neckband whenever I'm working, because having that one single cable to go in there and then still take advantage of the 6 degrees of freedom is a big selling point for me. Number of screens. This is where the INAIR Pod takes the big selling point. So 6 screens at once, having 5 across, 1 up top, however you want to do it, that takes the cake for sure for multitasking. I don't know how many screens you really need when you're multitasking, honestly, but I definitely think, you know, just based off of the number sheet, that's taking the cake for sure. when I use the Neckband Pro, I pretty much only use it for single screen mode, unless I'm working and I want to put on YouTube on the side, and then I'm using for 2. But the 2 does have more issues than when using it with normal 1 mode, as I think you saw where the screen kind of ran away, and I'm pretty sure my screen recording froze. On the control side, now I'm getting in the way again, let me slide over here. We have the Air Mouse mode, touch display, and Bluetooth input for the INAIR Pod. So using it as we kind of saw here like this, and then the touch display to scroll around and stuff. Not actual trackpad touch display, but you do have to tap the touch display to select and then use it to scroll as well. And there is the home button. Now, the Pro Neckband has the hand gestures that you can use, phone remote app, gaze control, where you use just your gaze and then tap the button on it to be able to click on things. And then also you can do Bluetooth input from other devices as well. So I do have to give it to the Pro Neckband in that category because there's just more stuff. And I really did like the hand gestures when I'm not recording. They definitely are more reliable when you're not recording, but yeah, hand gestures is an awesome addition, and it definitely feels more futuristic. And of course, you can use the phone app and have the trackpad mode or the laser mouse mode. And I think there was one other mode in the app. It might be D-pad mode. I don't remember off the top of my head. That category definitely has to go to the Pro Neckband. Now, on device compatibility, this one's a blowout. The INAIR Pod is specifically designed to be able to be used across multiple brands and devices. And so while the Luma Ultra and I think maybe the X-Real 1 Pro are the only devices that can use 6 degrees of freedom, now I don't have that device, so I can't confirm or deny if that works well, but they do have multiple tiers of degrees of freedom on other devices. So if I was using my Neo Air 4 Pro, they do have 3 degrees of freedom built in for that. Now, it's not great. It does have quite a bit of drift. I don't blame INAIR for that. I think it's probably a Neo thing. I don't think the sensors were that amazing, and the way that they're being transmitted is probably not that amazing because they really didn't intend for it to have 3 degrees of freedom, or else it would. It's one of the only devices that you can use 3 degrees of freedom with on the Neo Air 4 Pro. Now, they recently did add more support for the Beast, which enables 3 degrees of freedom for the Beast. Granted, it has it built in natively, so I really haven't noticed a huge difference when using that. I haven't really been using it that much with the INAIR Pod because I've been using the Luma Ultras. So definitely stick around, hit subscribe if you want to see the Beast versus Luma Ultra comparison video, which I hope to get out soon as well. I do have a device compatibility chart on my old INAIR Pod review video, which probably needs to be updated, but definitely go check out that video if you want to see more information about the devices that they're compatible with, but they have their own INAIR devices. The other ones listed in here. And the VITURE Pro Neckband, while it does support the VITURE devices, and I was able to get my Neo Air 4 Pros to get a signal from it, the support for those is significantly reduced. And so while you do have hand gestures still, they're not as good of hand gestures, and you have to use sort of the base Android version where instead of like Spacewalker. And so I do think that's sort of the Achilles heel of this device. Now, I mean, it's a VITURE Pro Neckband and you're in the VITURE ecosystem with VITURE devices, so it makes sense. But if you end up deciding to go somewhere else, now you got to get a new puck as well. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. I think device compatibility, INAIR walks away with it. All right, you made it to the end. That's the big comparison. These are the 2 heavy hitters of the puck world right now. And well, I guess there is the X-Real Beam Pro, but I don't have that one, so we can't compare that. Whenever I get it, I'll definitely throw it into the ring though. So if we want to look at just the wins, right? The INAIR Pod won on battery capacity, number of screens you can have in multitasking, device compatibility, and the VITURE Pro Neckband won on memory, storage, I/O ports, and controls. So just by the count, the Pro Neckband takes the crown. Congrats to the Pro Neckband, but big caveat here. I should have probably added a stability category for the comparison, because I will say the INAIR Pod, while using it as it's intended, is definitely more stable and less buggy than using the Pro Neckband. Now, once I start doing extra things that it's not really supported to do, like having DisplayPort alt signal get converted via capture card and sent into the device, then it starts bugging out, whereas the Pro Neckband handled it like a champ. And that might be related to the memory usage, how the Pro Neckband has more memory on it. I'm not 100% sure. It may even just be a software thing that could get fixed down the line. But it's not my opinion that matters at the end of the day. It's yours, the consumer. Which one are you going to pick up? Are you going to grab the Pro Neckband because you like to have it on your neck, or are you going to grab the INAIR Pod because you can get 6 screens when you're doing your multitasking? Definitely let me know in the comment section down below. Until next time, my name is Connor. This is where the informal tech reviews live. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more awesome tech comparisons, I definitely have the VITURE Luma Ultra and the VITURE Beast comparison coming up soon, and just more awesome tech videos. I actually have a collaboration coming up with XReal as well soon, so definitely hit subscribe, turn on that bell notification icon, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.